Hi Dan, how are you? Oh, NRL on tonight. I completely forgot. I've been so snowed under with work. It's hard. It's hard because I'm used to NRL being on. Once the weather's settling down. Usually by March we're starting to get one or two weather events, but not this hectic. So, g'day hippie. How are you? And Queensland transport enthusiasts. G'day to you. This is the first time you've commented on one of our videos. Welcome. I'm just setting up our YouTube feed, and then we'll get stuck into it. G'day Scott. Nice pictures, Nitso. Yeah, it is. It's a nice radar image, and we'll talk about it in a second. We'll wait till we'll wait till we get online. Yeah, don't even start, hippie. Penrith Broncos. Hey, listen, it doesn't matter in March. It matters in October. First Sunday of October, mate. That's when it matters. So don't even start. Don't start chirping yet about the Panthers. Hey, Lucy. I am feeling not too bad tonight. We've got to sort of revise down some of the forecasts, and I know that I've got a pretty easy week coming up where we only really need to cover a lot of weather for far north Queensland, i.e. the Cairns-Townsville coastline for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because that's the only place in Queensland getting a fair bit of weather is that Cairns district and FNQ, the Gulf, and then the Cape. Everyone else is going to settle down for the week. So I know I've got an easier week coming up, so I can do these ones live without having to pre-record anything. So fingers crossed that holds, and I do get a bit of an easier week. I haven't had too many easy weeks this season. All right, folks, as usual, g'day, my name's Chris Nitso, a lead forecaster at Weather IQ. The obvious topic of discussion is what you're seeing on your screen here, a low pressure system that's currently in northwest Queensland, but it'll be ravaging the Wide Bay area by Monday. So we'll be talking about this passage of this system and how it all comes to play because it's a statewide process. We'll also have a quick look at some of the rainfall in northeast Queensland that could happen over the next 12 to 18 hours. And then have a quick look at a new tropical cyclone signal coming from west from the Solomons from next weekend. And last and probably least, just a quick brief look at the NT. There's a low there just making a nuisance of itself up in the Northern Territory. Obviously, you would have seen some images, I hope, unless you've been living under a weather rock. You would have seen some images of Catherine underwater. Not a great spot at the moment with regards to flooding. And speaking of not great spots with regards to flooding, there's one right on your screen. So this low is moving further and further to the west. So at 10 a.m. the bomb had it here. Obviously it's not there anymore. It's actually moved northwestwards through the day, and it's currently located up here. And that up here means it's located around about 190 kilometres from Mount Isa and around about 160 kilometres from Cloncurry. It's been moving northwest today since 10 o'clock, so it's been moving northwest. It's now stopping moving northwest. It'll stall here. It won't move any further northwest, so it won't go up into the Gulf. So overnight tonight, it's going to be slow moving in this area, which is not great news because it means it's going to be creating lots of rain in this area. This is an area of Queensland that does not need rain right now. The last thing they need is rain right now. All right, so you can see, unfortunately, if we take a look at the computer modelling, that we are anticipating a fair bit of rain in this area. And you can see the model's actually got that pinpoint perfect where that low is. Beautiful. Good to see. Computer models can sometimes struggle with these things, but it's got that, nailed it. All right, so as we go through, 10 p.m. tonight, you can see the system begins to stall just in here. Lots of rain on the eastern side of the circulation. A little bit of shower and thunderstorm risk on the western side. And then as we go into the overnight, it begins its motion to the south-southeast very slowly. It's not going to move much overnight, but it is going to start moving south-southeast. And once we start to get it over into northwest Queensland, we'll then get it into central inland Queensland. You can see there's a fairly sharp little clearance on the back side of it. So not much rain there after about lunchtime tomorrow for northwest Queensland. But you've still got the whole night tonight and the first half of the day tomorrow to go with very significant rainfall here. And by very significant, we're probably looking at the possibility of triple figures here over this period, right? So this period between now and lunchtime tomorrow, that's a lot of rain in northwest Queensland in a very short space of time. You can see the Curry's just on the western edge of that, but it's still sort of trickling westwards. There's still a bit of rain for the Curry, not much for Mount Isa, just if you get a couple of rogue showers on the backside of it. But this area here, yeah, big problems there with another 70 to 100 millimetres, maybe a little bit more than that in an isolated pocket. All right, so that's not great news, but the good news, we clear it from lunchtime. Now, let's get into the more populated areas of the state. We're going to move southeastwards. We're going to get to Emerald. We're going to have a look at Emerald, and then we're going to get into the coast. All right, so looking at Emerald, this system is expected to then push southeastwards. Now, as it pushes southeastwards, we're anticipating that it will start to quicken up its motion. All right, so the idea is, I'm just going to take us out to 512 here. All right, so it'll start to quicken up its motion from tomorrow, probably about afternoon. So as we go into 10 a.m, you can see there's just moderate to heavy falls through the Emerald to the northern parts of the Maranoa Warrego. All this area starting to see significant rainfall accumulation. Nothing too dramatic yet until we get to the latter parts of the afternoon. Once we get into tomorrow night, we're expecting to see, there it is there. See that? See that big increase in rainfall between Claremont, Emerald and down to that northern Maranoa Warrego. So we see very sharp and clear increases in rainfall as the low pushes your way. The expectation is the low will push through this area early Monday, and we see our heaviest rainfall overnight Sunday night and the early half of Monday. Once we get past about Monday lunchtime, we start to clear up through this area. All right, so Monday lunchtime we clear up, and it's a really sharp clearance for the central interior. The problem is the intensity of the rain on Sunday night and Monday morning. We're expecting to see very intense rainfall. All right, so and we're probably looking once again at triple figures over large areas. All right, so this isn't going to be one place gets 100 and everyone else gets 5. It's going to be a very significant rain event for a very large area of central inland Queensland. Thankfully, this is an area of the state that actually does need rain. This is an area of the state that's missed out on a lot of the rainfall that we've seen further north, up Moranbah Way, Dysart. They've had a lot of rain this season. Ballando, lots of rain. This area, not so much. This area has seen, their dam, their big dam called the Fairburn Dam, which has a lot of the catchment zone, which is in here. It's in need of rain. It's in desperate need of rain. So this is falling where it needs to fall, where we really want it to fall. The problem is the stuff that's falling tonight is in the exact spot we don't want it to fall. All right, we're about to get into the business end of it, though, because it gets worse as we get further eastwards. All right, because as we get closer to the coastline, we tap into more moisture, and we also intensify an upper level trough, which then intensifies the surface cyclogenesis, the surface low. All right, and then we're about to talk about that. Once I give a shout out to our sponsor, Fair Dinkum Builds on the top left. Make sure you check them out if you're in the market for a shed safe accredited shed. Fair Dinkum Builds Townsville. Thank you for we thank them for their generous sponsorship. Now, for those of you watching that want to support us, we have a Weather IQ subscription service. That gives you access to all of our forecasts. Today we had a Queensland statewide forecast for the next 7 to 14 days. We had a Mackay regional update, just looking at the next 4 or 5 days. We had a Townsville regional update. We had a Cairns Central Queensland regional update. A Southeast Queensland regional update where we broke it up from Brisbane northwards and Brisbane southwards. We had a Cairns regional update. We had a Darwin update because they're getting a bit of weather from the low up there. And we had a discussion about tropical cyclone threats over the next 2 weeks. That's a typical day. That's a typical wet season day for me. There's about 7 or 8 forecasts I do there for our members, all right? So for those of you bitching and whinging up there in Cairns and Innisfail that you didn't get the rain, you were never promised rain. And if you think you were promised rain, it means you were listening to the wrong weather people, all right? So this is how you avoid that disappointment. This is how you avoid the bullshit. And this is how you get some real information. But it does take patience. A lot of my videos are 10, 15 minutes long. All right, I'll make no apologies for that. I'm not going to give you the weather in 2 minutes. That's not the way I work. So if that doesn't sound like you, then don't join us. You'll waste your money. All right, but if the idea behind a proper comprehensive forecast suits you, then absolutely join us. All right, and not only that, but with our forecasts, we also make sure that we explain the why. Why is something happening? So you can understand, and then you might be able to see it yourselves in the future. All right, so that's our subscription service. $32.95 gets you all of our forecasts. $69.95 gets you all of our stuff, including all of our graphics. All right, we thank you very much. We've got a few thousand sponsors. Well, they're technically sponsors. We've got a few thousand people who are now subscribers and who are getting real weather information. And everyone who is a subscriber from Cairns and Innisfail obviously knew they weren't getting much rain out of this thing. All right. And everyone who was north of the Daintree knew that they were going to get a truck ton of rain from this thing. All right, let's get into the business end now. And the business end, we're going to stick around Bundy for the business end. All right, so what happens here? Generally speaking, if we take a look at what's going on right now in this area, when I get my... There we go. So in this area, we've got some slow-moving rain. See this slow-moving rain? That's associated with a trough, a surface trough. See this fast-moving rain? That's associated with a deep northwesterly flow. Now, as that fast-moving rain gets closer to the trough, it slows down. And when it slows down, it creates the potential for ongoing rainfall that starts to accumulate over time and becomes fairly significant. It's not necessarily very heavy rain at any one stage, but it does gain in significance because we're under it for ages. All right, so that's what's going on. What does that look like on a weather chart? Let's have a look. So this is our weather chart. This is our trough today. So you can see we've just gone up a little bit higher than the surface because I don't like using surface charts a lot because every time we've got a little mountain range, it stuffs up the surface flow. All right, so I want to look just a little bit higher. So we're going up about 500-600 metres into the atmosphere because I want to take friction out of the equation. So we've got a nice cleaner picture of what's going on through our atmosphere near the surface. And so what we can see here is a trough that's currently over basically Rainbow Beach, Gympie area. As we go through the nighttime hours, that trough is going to be fairly slow moving. It's going to drift southwards though. All right, it's going to drift southwards down towards the sunny coast. As it drifts southwards towards the sunny coast and potentially as far south as Brisbane, we're going to see those big blobs of showers push southwards with the trough. All right, those big slow-moving blobs are going to start pushing southwards. Now, they get to a stage around about tomorrow, 10 a.m. to midday, that trough stops moving south. So that trough will go south for the next 12 to 16 hours, and then north after that. So back up towards Hervey Bay it'll get to. So have a look here what's going on as we get into Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. There we go. Trough moving north, back up towards Gympie. And then as we go into Monday morning, you can see trough getting right up to Hervey Bay. Now, what's happening on Monday further west? Do you remember? Do you remember? We've got a low. Remember the low that hit Innisfail? Yeah, that same low. Remember, it's pushing through the Central Highlands and coming down, and it's basically going to follow the trough line. So it's going to follow this trough line down to the coast. Now, the trough is moving slightly northwards, and the low is moving fast now to the southeast. All right, that's our low on your screen there, where my cursor is. That's our low that was up around the one we started talking about, up around Julia Creek. All right, so there's our low on Monday morning. There's our low on Monday afternoon, getting off the coast. All right, so you can see here how rapidly it's moving by the time it gets to the coast. It's moved about, what's that? 380 kilometres in 6 hours. So that's 6 hours. That's 60 kilometres an hour that thing's moving at. It is racing. It is, I mean racing. So tonight, you think about where it's going tonight. It's moving at about 3 to 5 kilometres an hour tonight, all night. By the time it gets here, because of the upper level trough, which comes in and really creates this strong southeasterly, northwest to southeast flow, this thing's going to be motoring, one of the fastest lows you've ever seen move. All right, so as we go, it gets off the coast very, very quickly on Monday afternoon or evening, so sometime between 4 and 7. Because of that forward speed, we can't be real confident on the exact time it exits the coast, but we're thinking afternoon into evening. is when it gets off the coast. Once it gets off the coast, everything stabilises really quickly. All right, so you can see this dry southeasterly will come roaring up the coast and stabilise the entire coastline, not just this coastline, the entire coastline, all the way up through Mackay, even up towards Townsville. But that little period where the trough gets offshore could also result in some pretty violent thunderstorms up there in the Mackay, Townsville area. They won't get the heavy rain from this thing, but they'll get some pretty violent storms up that way. All right, so that's a pretty sharp change that's coming through. All right, so there's our system. So that's an overview, but let's have a look at how that affects our rainfall. So I want to draw your attention firstly to the rainfall that's going to be falling tonight into tomorrow morning, because that's important. There is going to be a southward shift to that rainfall. All right, so we are going to see some of that get down into southeast Queensland. So you can see there tonight that blobby rain that's really slow moving around that Gympie area. So what we're expecting tonight is that to push a little further south into the morning down towards Brisbane City. So you can see Brisbane on the southern edge of some of that rainfall tomorrow morning, and the Sunshine Coast getting a bit more rain tomorrow morning. Even all the way down to Toowoomba, we get a little bit of rain by Sunday morning. That's as far south as the rain from the trough gets. From there, we're going to start to see southeasterly winds drive showers down into here. Notice who's getting the bigger rain though? We haven't even talked about them, have we? And look at them. They're getting the bigger rain up here around Gladstone, Bundy. They're getting some pretty significant rain in the morning on the northern side of the trough. The northern side of the trough has all the tropical moisture feeding into the trough. The southern side of the trough has subtropical air pushing into the trough. All right, so understand that there's a lot more moisture coming into the trough from the north than there is from the south. So we've got significant rain inland areas and significant rain coastal areas north of the trough, but the trough is moving southwards. All right, so we've got rain all the way down to Brizzy from that trough. Now, as we get to 4 p.m, there we go. So this period, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, remember, the trough gets to its southernmost extent around about lunchtime tomorrow. So as it gets to its southernmost extent, which looks to be around Brisbane, you can see that our heavy rain sets in for Brisbane in that morning to when the trough is at its furthest south peak. Once the trough starts to move north again, this big blast of orange, which is heavy rain, is going to push north with it. So watch this happen. As we get into 10 p.m, you see it start to drift north between 4 and 10. As we get into 4 a.m, now it's clearly moving north. So this trough moving south brings the rain south, and then the trough moving north brings the rain north. But we haven't got to the real stuff yet. This is heavy rain at times, and it could cause flash flooding. Absolutely it could. But the real stuff is still out the back of Emerald. Remember, it's accelerating towards the coast at this time. So the real stuff gets to the coast as we get into the back half of the morning of Monday, so as we get to lunchtime, and then especially gets to the coast as we get into the afternoon. Now, this is our heaviest potential rainfall, getting to the coast from about lunchtime onwards through the afternoon, and then exiting the coast really rapidly through the evening. In behind it, we've got not much at all. All right, so very, very sharp clearance in behind it. So this period here on Monday is going to be our peak rain day, and especially that period between lunchtime and that mid to late afternoon, depending on whenever that low gets off the coast. And there is a chance there that we get some really heavy rain for about 6 hours or so in that area right next to where the low's coming off the coast. And at the moment, that appears to be the Wide Bay coastline. Let's have a quick look at the Google Weather Lab. Just make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, I just want to make sure that you've got the time there so you can follow on the time. All right, so there's our accelerate. So our low starts moving really, really slowly overnight. So you can see it moving northwest to start with. So this was taken at 10 a.m. this morning. So you can see this period up until this afternoon, evening, it was moving northwest, which is exactly what happened. And then as we start to get into the overnight period, see how it starts to adopt that southeast track. And then as we get into 10 a.m., 4 p.m, on tomorrow, you can see it's now clearly moving southeast, but it hasn't really accelerated. It's not moving as fast as it will on Monday. And then as we go into Sunday 10 p.m, Monday 4 a.m, Monday 10 a.m, Monday 4 p.m. So that timing, as I say, might be a few hours either side that, just because it's moving so fast by the time it gets to the coast. We're not going to exactly pinpoint that timing. But sometime Monday afternoon to Monday evening seems to be the likely time where it exits the coast. And from there, it'll only take an hour or two and everything will clear up. It's not going to be a gradual, we've got to wait a whole day before it clears up. It'll just clear up straight away. All right, so that's the expectation with that system. The other thing we haven't mentioned briefly is, and we probably should mention, is the winds. The system is going to be creating quite a bit of wind. The good part of that is that we're anticipating that a lot of the wind from this system is going to be offshore. That's really important. By the way, this is a high resolution view. While I've got you there, this is a high resolution view of that really intense rain. So you can see that, oops, sorry. Let me just bring this up for you. You can't see. We're dealing with two different resolutions there. All right, so you can see now through the emerald area that we've got up to 100 mils over 3 hours being predicted in the model. So this is the thing that, this is the thing that's going to drive some real flash flooding in the last part just before we develop the clearance. As we get to 1 p.m, you can see that really intense rain in there. Everyone else is getting some rain, and then there's really intense rain just on the southeastern side of the circulation. And then as we get to the coast, we're developing rainfalls of 70, 80 mils over 3 hours, 90 mils even over 3 hours. That's serious rain rates, because remember, in the lead up to this, it hasn't been fine and dry, and it's not as if you're just getting one burst of 70 mils and that's it. You've already had about 100, 150 mils, and then you're getting a burst of 70 to 90, right? So that's what you've got to remember with this, all right? This is coming right at the end. We would have had all the rain to start with, all the pitter-patter stuff, some moderate rain at times, and then we're getting this big burst right at the back end. So just remember, it's not happening at the start, it's happening at the end. And then you get that big burst, and then off it goes. And you can see, as it interacts with the coastline, the possibility of seeing 120 mils over 3 hours. That's some serious rainfall after this area would have already been receiving. So if we just take the accumulation before the heavy rain sets in, have a look at how much rain has already fallen in the area. All right, so that's 100 plus millimeters has already fallen in the area, and then suddenly we've just added another 150 in about 6 hours. All right, so that's the power of this, and that's what we're watching for, is that last burst of really heavy rain on top of the fact that you would have had so much rain to start with. So that's our big issue out here. Now, folks, behind this, we got a fairly sharp clearance. Oh, no, hang on. I was going to show you winds, wasn't I? So let me give you a quick squiz at winds. So as our low starts to come across the Central Highlands, there could be some damaging wind gusts with any convection that's occurring. And then I want you to pay attention to the winds here off and around southeast Queensland and central Queensland. You can see some really strong winds off the coast of Mackay as the low pushes southeast. Doesn't mean the low is going to hit Mackay, just means that it's creating that area of effect. And then as we go through, we can see that this really strong wind starts to impact places like Rocky, Gladstone. You'll notice that for Brisbane, the winds are coming from the opposite direction. They're coming from the southeast. They're bloody strong, but they're coming from the southeast. The winds here are coming from the northwest. All right, so that's our trough, southeasterlies, northwesterlies. As we come through, now as the low hits the coast and pushes offshore, we see an acceleration of that wind field, a real intensification of that wind field. So this is really important that we're not caught out on the water and we're not caught working at heights. I don't think anyone would be, because it'd be pissing down rain. So you're probably not on the water or working at heights. But if you are, you probably shouldn't be. So the idea here is that we're going to see potentially winds up around gusting to 40 to 50 knots on the coastline. Yeah, that's getting close to Category 1 territory there, aren't we, at 40 to 50 knots, 80 to 90 k's an hour. Category 1, sustained speeds are about 33 plus knots, 34 knots. What are we looking at for sustained speeds? Yeah, offshore, we're at Category 1 already. All right, so this won't be a tropical cyclone though, okay? So they can't name it a tropical cyclone, nothing tropical about it, all right? But understand that it will be providing us with conditions that approximate a Category 1 tropical cyclone, particularly in ocean water areas, not necessarily as much on the coast. On the coast, we might be shy of that, but off the coast, yeah. All right, so as we go through, we can see the system beginning to produce winds up to about 60 knots on the western side of the circulation. Thankfully, as it pushes off the coast, we're also not getting any heavy rain at this stage. It's all gone, all right? But those winds are also southerly, which means that we're not going to see the 60 knots on the coast. We're going to have that offshore, all right? But it's a pretty close shave, but we're confident that they won't happen on the coast. All right, so that's the expectation. Obviously, if you're on Fraser, you do need to be mindful that some of those winds may happen over Fraser. All right, but if you're right on the coastline, no, we wouldn't be expecting that level of wind. All right, and then we see quickly the system pushes away and we're left with a southerly flow through the region. All right, so that's where we are at the moment with winds. And if we take a look at wind accumulations, how strong could the winds get on the coast? This is important. This gives you an idea of what you need to be prepped for wind-wise. Now, you can see when we get to Fraser Island, the northern part of Fraser, yeah, we're getting right up into Category 1 winds, all right? When we get into the southern side of Fraser, we're below Category 1 winds. Now, as we go up here towards Bundy, you can see this pocket of coastline just near Bundy at Burnett, Bargara. This area here that just juts out a little bit, right? So that jutting out is what creates the difference between the 35 to 45 knot maximum winds at Bundy and that extra little bit of oomph that we see out here. That jutting out of the area means that we're going to see the possibility of those really strong winds impacting the exposed coast, and the exposed coast is this coast that juts out. All right, and then further northwards, we can see that places further north, up around Moore Park, getting up around that 40, 45 knot range. So these are pretty serious winds. They're just shy of Category 1 intensity winds. So there is a period of fairly damaging type wind potential as this comes onto the coast. Doesn't last very long. The period of potential damaging winds is just 3 or 4 hours long, but there is a chance there. Further southwards, when we get down towards the sunny coast and the Gold Coast and the Brisbane area, nothing too dramatic there. We're probably looking at 30 to 40 knot max winds there through the region. So very windy day, but nothing there that should concern you. And from a rainfall perspective, if you're asking how much rain will I get out of this Nitso, well, there's obviously going to be a little bit of nuance because we don't know exactly where that massive, really strong period of rain is going to form. But overall, these are our estimates for your region. So you can see that those estimates are pretty significant all the way from out here, Emerald Spring Shore, all the way into the coast. But they get really heavy, potentially, right on the coastline. All right, and you can see places like Gladstone and like Bundy and Harvey Bay, Maryborough, Gympie. All these areas have got really good potential of picking up over 100. Some areas, especially in the higher country, may see rainfall that might exceed 200. All right, even if they're not where the low pressure system gets off the coast. And we've got there quite a variation of who gets the heaviest rain, but the numbers are fairly consistent. Okay, the numbers at the top end are around the 300 millimetre mark. The numbers at the bottom end are around about 100 millimetres, maybe 90 millimetres. So we're pretty confident everyone's getting good rain. It's just a case of where are those biggest falls going to be in that last 3 to 6 hour period. Okay, so that's this one here. Now, just following on from the clearance, just want to make mention of this one. There is a chance here for some severe thunderstorms. Some severe thunderstorms up around Townsville and the Mackay area. Not necessarily due to the low, but just due to the trough and the change. So I just want to show you this part on Monday. Right, so we're going to see this southerly and southwesterly come up through Queensland, and it's going to clear the coastline here. But here, right up in the north, in the Herbert Burdekin and potentially the Mackay with Sundays, there's this really sharp clashing of air masses, really sharp clashing. There's a really dry surge of air, and there's a monsoonal surge of air that doesn't really want to go away, and they have a big fight in this area on Monday afternoon and evening. All right, so we're going to see some really hectic thunderstorms there, more akin to what we expect to see in southeast Queensland. We're going to see in North Queensland. So that's the sort of level of intensity of some of these cells up here in the Townsville district as we go into Monday. And I suspect that might extend down into the northern parts of the Mackay-Whitsundays district as well. So just a heads up there, while we're all watching southeast Queensland at the time, there'll be a secondary little burst of fairly significant weather in this region on Monday afternoon. And it won't be heavy rain. Don't go in expecting heavy rain. This is very dry air coming in. There'll be a period, maybe if you're lucky and you get a bit of heavy rain, but it's more about the wind gusts that might come out of these and the spectacular lightning rates. But wind gusts will be a big feature of any storm activity that occurs here as we go into Monday. All right. Following on from this, what we're expecting to see, and I'll take our focus back up to far north Queensland quickly. By the way, if you want to support us, subscription service, there's a website on the on your video. Thank you. And if you can't do that, if you don't have the money to do that, but you want to support us, give us a like on YouTube. Just like it on YouTube and it goes out to the algorithm, etc., etc. Give us a like on Facebook. Give us a thumbs down if you hate it. I don't care. It helps the algorithm. Thumbs up, thumbs down all you want, because even thumbs down actually gets you more coverage. So go for it. Thumbs down us. No, don't give us too many thumbs down. They'll end up cancelling our account. So from here, I want to take us up a little bit higher into the far northern parts of Queensland, because we're going to see a redevelopment of heavy rain through far north Queensland, and hopefully it'll develop in the areas that didn't get much rain from this system as it got on the coast. So I just want to take us to Cairns. And I just want to use Cairns because there's some fairly significant rainfall coming into the wet tropics coast, and that's going to cover the Townsville area as well. Right. So as we get this drier change that's going to dry out the rest of the state, up here, we're going to see a clashing of that air. Remember that clash that I talked about for the Townsville district on Monday? That clash is going to happen. It won't be quite as spectacular, but it'll continue happening through most of the week. And this drier air that's going to dry out the rest of the state is going to continue to clash with moist air from a monsoon that's weakening at the time, but we're going to see significant rainfall development through this area as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, potentially Friday, potentially even into the weekend. This is going to be an area where we're going to see a lot of rain that just doesn't want to go anywhere. It's going to be quite coastal. A lot of the heavier stuff is going to be quite coastal, but there'll still be the odd isolated shower and thunderstorm through the inland area as well. So you can see there in the afternoon we spread the rain out, and at night time we sort of concentrated a bit more coastal. So the end result here, over the course of say 10 days or so, we're going to see some pretty serious rainfall in the North Tropical Coast region. Okay, so and just be aware that being an AI model, it does underinterpret rainfall to some degree from these showers. So wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing 300 to 400s developing over the course of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those 5 days could see some pretty serious rainfall for that North Tropical Coast region. Maybe the Herbert region, probably north of Townsville at this stage, is where that dry line will set up. And also we'll notice quite a bit of rain back through the Gulf, which once again is very unwanted. That's going to fall in that second half of the week. So just be aware, it might fine up for the rest of the state, but it gets quite rainy for this part of the state once the rest of the state fines up. All right, and a very quick discussion here. We've got a weak low pressure system near the Darwin area, and this low is just keeping us guessing. And it's just that weak that we shouldn't care, but we've got to care. The reason we've got to care is because it continues to mix with the monsoon, and there's potential there that we're going to drive very serious rainfall into that northwestern top end region. And you can see that we're already, while I've been gibbering, we're already out to Wednesday, and we still haven't seen that low move anywhere. We haven't seen it intensify, but we haven't seen it move anywhere. So we're continuously driving showers, thunderstorms, rain areas into the top end all the way through the week. So there's a whole week there of very significant rainfall coming through the top end. Falls in excess of 200 millimetres are quite likely. Falls in excess of 100, fairly widespread now, with that low not going anywhere. So Queensland isn't the only place getting significant weather here. The northwestern top end especially, but generally the western half of the top end could see further heavy falls, and that's the last thing places like Katherine need right now after most of the town is underwater. Unfortunately, It doesn't look great, and it does look as though there'll be plenty more rain to come for them. At this stage, no cyclone threat, but it's just a very heavy ongoing rain threat for the top end. A lot going on. All right, so that covers everything I need to cover tonight with you. Oh, just one last thing. I know I'll get asked this, so I'll get on top of it quickly. Longer term, we are watching another low. Next weekend, it kicks off around about between the Solomons and Vanuatu, and we expect it to move to the west, and we expect it to move towards the far north Queensland coast. Now, as it moves to the west, it'll have a decision to make. If it moves west fairly quickly, the decision will be made for it and it'll hit the coast. If it moves more slowly, it's going to have to face quite a few foes before it tries to get to the coast. So around about Wednesday, Thursday of next week, not the week coming, next week, as in 10 days' time, what we're going to see is a change in flow pattern. And in the Coral Sea, if anything's still there on Wednesday, Thursday of that week, it's going to start to push out to the graveyard. If anything's already hit the coast, happy days. It continues moving west into the Gulf. At this stage, if we hit the coast, we're likely to hit the coast north of Cairns. If we don't hit the coast, we're likely to go out to the graveyard. So we're not likely to hit the coast further south at this point, but it is early days, and we have a huge variety of intensity estimates from Category 3 to Category nothing. So just something to look out for. Once we get through this mess, we can start to talk about that mess, all right? One mess at a time. All right. I'll go to your questions. Just before I do, once again, shout out to our sponsor, Fair Dinkum Builds Townsville, on the top left of your screen. We thank them for their support. And once again, if you'd like to support what we do, give us a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. And if you'd like to support us financially and get access to all of our forecasts, comprehensive forecasts, head over to weatheriq.com.au/subscribe. You can choose from this one, or from this one for the forecast. And if you just want our weather maps, you can choose this one. You don't get my forecast, but you get a bunch of weather maps and really good stuff. All right. Well, thank everyone for their subscription and their support. If you can't subscribe, just by being here, you're supporting us. All right, Scott. Howdy, Scott. Bear Noble. Hello, Bear. Leanne Laidlow. Hi, Nitzo. Hey, Leanne. Dan. Not what we need in the northwest. Yeah, further rain. Absolutely, definitely not what you need in the northwest, mate. Yeah, and as I say, the good news is, remember, just tonight, tomorrow morning, it all gone after that, okay? But it may come back the back end of the week, depending on how much that moist air shifts southwards. Why isn't Harvey Bay getting any? Nathan, we just spoke about Harvey Bay for the last 20 minutes, mate. Maybe you had us on mute. Just go back and have a look. We talked about Harvey Bay a lot. Mark, Sparky's big win. Sharky's big win. Yeah, it was. Jeez, I turned off, I think, after 15 minutes. What were they? 14-0 up, and I thought, oh no, the Titans, the poor Titans. I hope it's not another one of those years for them. Cowboys will be there, Nitzo, in September. You're not confident for October, Scott? Not confident for a GF for the Cows? I don't know. They looked a bit shaky against Newcastle. I hope you're right. I'm a huge Cowboy supporter. I'm a huge Broncos supporter. Look, I support most of the Queensland teams. I'm a very big Christian Wolf supporter, the coach of the Redcliffe Dolphins. Sorry, you shouldn't call them the Redcliffe Dolphins, the whatever Dolphins, Brisbane Dolphins. Yeah, big fan of him. Good guy, great guy. Susan, hi Nitzo from Ball Bay. Hey Susan. Susan's one of our new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying your subscription, Susan. Hope it's been very informative. Looks like a good signal for the end of the month for Queensland. Yeah, I haven't looked that far, Jace, so I'll take your word for it, mate. I'm not seeing anything at the end of the month when I looked about a week ago now was the last time I looked, but I'll take your word for it, mate. Once we get through this mess, we might delve into something that might be going on a bit later on, but for now, let's just get through this mess, eh? Hey, Nitzo, bringing us some good news for the sunny coast in the form of a shitload of rain. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know about a shitload, but yeah, 1 to 200 mils seems like a pretty decent bet for the sunny coast. Sunny coast is on the southern edge of some of that heavy rain, but yeah, absolutely, some good rain should be there. Bonnie, g'day Nitzo. G'day Bonnie, good to have you with us, and this might be the first time you've commented on one of our videos. G'day and welcome. Hey bro, gun show, Anthony. No worries, mate. Is the rain expected to ease up here in Airlie Beach? Highway was shut today. We're due to go home to Mackay tomorrow. Brittany, yeah, we haven't talked about Airlie Beach much, so let's do it. Let's have a quick look at that for you, Brittany. With Sundays. Okay, so one of the key things for the Whitsundays region is that for tonight at least, and tonight's probably the biggest night of this potential, we're going to see some locally heavy falls of rain potentially start to develop up around the Townsville-Burdekin area overnight. And then what I'm interested in is to see how they'll funnel southwards. So see that? In the morning tomorrow, they'll start to funnel southwards overnight and early in the morning. And so we do expect to see quite a bit of rain pushing up into the Whitsundays there, or down into the Whitsundays, I should say, from the stuff that develops up around the Townsville district. So that's what we're expecting there. And then as we go into the afternoon, that'll sort of break down and develop further inland. And then into tomorrow night, there's just a chance there of some locally heavy showers through the Whitsundays again. So I think out of all the nights where the Whitsundays would get rain was last night, of course, but also tonight. Tonight is another fairly good chance, particularly maybe back end of the night, early in the morning. Pretty decent chance there that the Whitsundays gets a bit of a touch up again. If we take a look at the high-res model, see if it's given us any clues about how that'll operate. Look at the forecast ground radar. Yeah, so we developed some heavy showers initially through there's going to be some locally heavy showers developing, through, there they are there, you can see them already. Locally heavy showers developing everywhere from the Townsville district southwards, and you can see those in the evening just starting to pop up there on the Townsville ranges, just starting to pop up offshore, and they'll extend south into the Whitsundays. And then as we go, what we're looking for here is to see whether or not any of that solidifies into a rainy mass, all right? So at the moment, it's just showers, right? Until 1 or 2 a.m., just looks like it's heavy showers. What we're looking for here is if these heavy showers start to pile up along the mountain range near the Whitsundays. So that's where we start to go from, a few heavy showers to start to see heavy rain. And yeah, so you can see here how we're starting to pile it up there in the morning, right? So we're starting to pile up some heavy falls of rain in the morning through the Whitsundays there. So that does make sense there, that we're seeing some possibility of heavy falls in the morning tomorrow around the Whitsundays. They may start to kick off overnight tonight, but in the morning tomorrow looks to be the peak. And then through the day tomorrow, further heavy showers are expected, but the focus of activity quickly shifts southwards. And then, as I say, on Monday, as I say, on Sunday night, Monday morning, we've got another chance at some heavy showers through the Whitsundays as well. Just a little bit less likely to see the wave or the line of shower activity to just be ongoing. This looks more like just one burst of showers. So, yeah, mate, it doesn't look like great news for the Whitsundays. It does look like you're going to see quite a bit of rain. Yeah, you can see potentially falls in that 50 to 100 range from the shower activity. Look, nothing that you're not used to, but just something to add on to the 100 that you've already had. You're getting another 50 to 100. Yeah, it's going to be annoying. Sue, Bundaberg's dew point was insane today, 25.6 with 90% humidity. Yikes. Yeah, I wouldn't be expecting anything different tomorrow either, just quietly, Sue. It's going to be pretty ordinary tomorrow, but hopefully there'll be enough rain around that'll at least keep a lid on how bad that'll feel. I only had a few showers in Pentland. Yeah, Pentland was never going to get a lot of rain out of this Zabinator. So, yeah, remember Pentland was in that Charters Towers area. That Charters Towers, Moranbah, Pentland, Ballyendo, all that area was never going to be great when it came to rainfall from this. Been a subscriber now for a while. Very informative forecasting. Thanks, Jace. Jace runs a weather page too. Jace, just give your weather page a plug there. Jace runs a weather page in central inland Queensland, does great work for the folks in Emerald and those folks in the Central Highlands, and lets them know when there's some good storms about. So if you do like following the weather in the Central Highlands, Jace's page, if he gives it a plug there, yeah, he's a good forecaster for that area. So with how fast it moves, does that mean flash flooding on the way? Yeah, I would imagine so, Bex. When you start talking about 100 mils in 3 hours on top of 100 mils over the previous 24 hours, yeah, mate, there's a fair bet that Bundaberg, the Harvey Bay area, there will be the chance of very localised flash flooding for sure. Yeah. Jojo, Bianca Troy. Oh, Jojo's just... And Bex, going back to your question, Monday would be the best chance for that happening over Bundy. All right, so it's not necessarily flash flooding ongoing the whole time. It's definitely just general rain, and then bang, that last little burst, which you really don't want at the back end of after all the rain you're going to have. Yeah. So yeah, I'd be definitely prepped. If you know that your street's prone to flooding, don't leave your car on the street. You know, don't go overboard. It's just going to be a bit of flash flooding. You've seen 200 mils before, but the problem is you might see 1 to 200 on top of the next 24 hours, where you're going to see 50 to 100. Right, so that's the problem. It's going to come in quick time. Lindsay, best weatherman in Queensland. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. That's awesome. Thank you. I'll take it. I think there's a lot of very good weathermen in Townsville. So I won't say best, but I reckon I'm passionate about the job, and you know that's why I think I get a lot more right than I get wrong. Let's say that. Has certainly been an interesting weather event, that's for sure. Yeah, it has, Rain. It definitely has, mate. I think you're from FNQ up there around Tully, so. Yeah, it hasn't been big for Tully, but listen, watch this stuff at the back end of the week. This is where Tully gets a lot of its rain, right? So you might find that your region in Tully is going to be swimming by the weekend, all right? That there is a fairly decent enough convergence zone there to drive a lot of rain for Tully. So yeah, should be a good. You mightn't have got much out of the first half of this, but when the rest of the state clears, I think this is a great time that Tully will show its true colours. That region anyway. Rick, I've been a subscriber for a few years now. It'd be nice to see some of the YouTubers sign up. Money well spent for a great service from Nitso and the Weather IQ team. Thanks, Rick. Thanks very much, mate. Yeah, you have been. I do know you're often commenting on stuff too in the internal subscription service. Thanks very much for your recommendation, mate. And yeah, listen, if you're not sure if you want to join us, why don't you join the YouTube service? The YouTube service is basically the iWall Lite, the iWall Basic. It costs a bit. It costs $14.95 for a month. But then if you decide at the end of the month, Nitso, I want to join your proper service, your actual website service, you send me an email, like you join it, you send me an email and go, hey, Nitso, I joined your YouTube. Can I get my rebate? And then you just send me your username, your YouTube username. I'll just make sure that you're not G'ing us up, and I reimburse you like $10. So out of your $15, I'll reimburse you $10 if you join the big plan, this one, and I reimburse you $5 if you join one of the little plans. All right, so you basically, if you like what you see, it ends up costing you $5 for the month, right? So it's almost like a free trial. It's just a roundabout way of doing it. But yeah, that's another option for you. If you just want to, and for some people, they just want to join when there's a cyclone around. So the YouTube membership, that's the easiest one. $14.95 for 1 month, and then you can bugger off if you don't like it, or if you were just interested for that one cyclone. Both of these help us, right? This membership helps us more, but the YouTube membership is a good introduction to what we do. You can see what the forecasts are like. You can have a month at it, and then if you like it, you'll get $10 back if you join this one. So it's almost like a no-lose situation. Well, assuming you like us. If you don't like us, well, you probably wasted $15. But I don't think there's been too many people that have joined that just didn't like it. Jojo, Misty Jacobs, sounds like Gladstone is going to cop it. Yeah, Gladstone's on the northern side of a lot of what's going to cop it. Yeah, but Gladstone's definitely in line. So if we go back to this. So you can see here, for example, the wind accumulation forecast. Oops, let me just get this right. Right, so the wind accumulation forecast, you can see Gladstone not really copping it there, right? So when it comes to winds, just south of Gladdy's copping it. And when we take a look at rain accumulation, same time, you see that? See how we're just south of Gladdy? So, yeah, I don't want you thinking that Gladstone's on ground zero here. If you're in Bundy, yikes. If you're in Agnes, potentially yikes. But Gladstone's probably just on the northern boundary of that, and Rocky's probably a little too far north of that. Okay, so so just understand there that it's Gladstone is likely to cop some good rain. I mean, that's another 100 mils on top of the 100 you've already had. That's pretty good rain. That's a whole month's worth of rain in 3 days. But just make sure that you're not panicking up there, because the bigger area that I'm interested in at the moment is this area here: Harvey Bay, Bundy, and up. I think we talked about it here: Bargara, Burnett Heads. Yeah, this area in here, and extending maybe to about Agnes Waters. So just be aware, Gladstone would be on the northern. We'd still be right if Gladstone got it. Let's put it this way: we'd still be right if Gladstone copped it, but we'd be on the cusp of being wrong. If you get my drift, right? So we wouldn't say that we're wrong if Gladstone got it, because we still expect Gladstone to get bad weather. But we're probably on the northern boundary. If Rocky got the worst of it, then we'd say, yeah, we're wrong on this one. Okay, so that's where our cutoff is. About Gladstone would be our cutoff for the really bad weather. That's not to say these areas won't get further rain. You can see they clearly are, but the focus point is clearly a little bit south of Gladstone. So I just want to make sure, sometimes there's a bit of miscommunication there, so I just want to make sure we're aware of who the focus is on. This is the focus here, all right? There's plenty of good rain further south, down to the sunny coast and Brisbane, and there's plenty of good rain further north, up towards Gladdy and even as far north as Rocky. But this is our primary threat area on the coastline. Peter, love your work. Thanks, Pete. Thanks for joining us. Stacey, thank you. No worries, Stacey. What the heck is that pop-up ad on screen? No idea. Have I been? This is a work computer, so I'm not allowed to. I don't allow myself to look at any questionable material on my work computer. So I'm not sure what pop-up screen you've got. So I hope we haven't seen anything dramatic there. I'm pretty sure I keep my work and personal accounts separate. Anyway, any chance you can expand it a bit? The writing is very small. No, not really. It's all up to whatever the resolution is on your screen, I'd imagine. So that's about as big as I can make it. Yeah, sorry about that. HZ73, what's the flooding danger like for southwest of Queensland? No. Oh, geez, I don't know. This is a thing, right? I'm not a hydrologist, so I don't know where these river systems are coming from, mate. So I think they start up here somewhere, don't they? There's a fairly large catchment zone in southwest Queensland. So I can tell you're not going to get good rain in southwest Queensland. That I can be very confident in. But, mate, I'm not sure where these catchment zones start, so I couldn't really help you out about how much of this is actually flowing into southwest Queensland catchments. That's something you're going to have to ask a hydrologist. I've got to stay in my lane, and my lane is got nothing to do with catchments and flooding and things like that, mate. So sorry I can't help you there. Val, hi Nitso, watching from Mackay. Thanks for the updates. No worries, Val. Keep an eye out for some potential heavy rainfall tonight, although perhaps more the Whitsundays. And then just Monday, just keep an eye on some of those little gusty storms around Mackay. So, yeah, maybe between Mackay and Townsville, we're expecting to see a couple of pretty violent little storms. So they're always going to be hit and miss, but that's what I'd be looking for in Mackay. Great forecast, Nitso, from Burpengary East in southeast Queensland. Good on you, Darren. Thanks for joining in, mate. Thanks for having a look. Brittany, is the rain expected to ease up here in Airlie overnight tomorrow morning? No, Brittany, I think we've already talked to you. Yeah, we talked about that. Good on you, Nitso. I'm the volunteer rainfall observer at station 039334. Where is that? And it forecast is pizza. Bomb is cardboard, and your outfit is the supreme with the lot. Oh, if forecasting is pizza, bomb is cardboard, and your outfit is the supreme with the lot. Our area has high banks and hills, so the cows don't get washed out to sea, even with 500 mil events. Good to know. That's one of my Nitsoisms, folks, in my subscriber forecast. We go from cows happy to cows not happy to cows floating down rivers. That's the way I describe weather events. So that's my non-scientific way of describing weather events. So if you're getting sort of 50 mils or less, cows are happy. If you're getting 100 mils or less, about 150 mils, cows are pretty upset. But if you're getting more than 200 or 300 mils, cows are floating down rivers. So that's my assessment, and that's how I scientifically grade a weather event. But good to know that they don't get washed away in 500 mils. We sure need a huge event to subsurface recharge. I'm not sure where you are. I'm not sure where 03933... I'll have to check what 039334 is and where it is. So if it loads us up, no sweat. Cheers, mate. Happy subscriber here. Good on you, Stuart. Good on you, mate. And well done, and thank you for being a volunteer rainfall observer. That's awesome. Melissa, hey Nitso, has anything changed for CQ just west of Rocky Gladstone since this morning's video? No, I don't think so. No. Everything for Rocky to Gladstone and just west is still pretty much the way it was from this morning. There haven't been any major changes to the forecast at all. Mandy, best weather forecast explanation. Truly enjoyed it and enjoyed understanding how the trough influenced the movement of the low. I'm joining for sure. I'm also from Ball Bay. Oh, good on you. Good on you, Mandy. That's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Bear Smith, is Fair Income Sheds TownsvilleSheds.com? Yes, they are. TownsvilleSheds.com is now Fair Income Builds Townsville. They just haven't sent me the new blurb for their thing, so I'll just keep calling them TownsvilleSheds.com until they send me a new blurb to say at the start of my videos. But yes, Bear, they're the same company, mate. Jacob, raining in Toowoomba now. Yeah, it would be, Jacob, because you're on the southern boundary of the rain, so we're expecting to see more rain heading there tomorrow as well, mate. Talia, we love a sassy Nitso. Thanks, Talia. I don't know how sassy I am, but I'll take it. Hey, Nitso, is Tannum Sands going to cop a lot more rain? Tannum Sands, Jojo, I'm not sure where... hang on. Where is Tannum Sands? Now, part of me thinks it's up here, and then part of me thinks it's way down here. Tannum Sands. It's something strikes me as Sunshine Coasty. Yeah, sorry, mate. I don't know where Tannum Sands is. You're gonna have to give me a heads up about not where you think, but where Tannum Sands is. Otherwise, I'm gonna have no idea. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Bron, hi Bron, how are you? Your subscription is great and definitely worth it. Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks very much for your recommendation. We got absolutely nothing in Coolangatta except for bigger waves and stronger winds. Yeah, Christina, hang on a sec. You're jumping the gun there, champion. Just give us a sec here. Let's have a look here. Coolangatta. We're not expecting anything in Coolangatta, were we? Certainly not at the moment. Let's have a look. I'm pretty sure, though, let me just bring this back to where it should be. All right. So for Coolangatta, yeah, I'm not sure what you're expecting there, because you're certainly too far south of the big stuff. The big stuff is going to be up to your north. But we should be seeing some shower activity developing through Coolangatta, mate. So all hope is not lost, but don't go in expecting what they're going to get up further north, right? So when we're talking southeast Queensland's a big place. It's not just one spot. So you can see there that we do anticipate that there's going to be some shower. There it is there. So you can see between sort of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. tomorrow, Coolangatta should start getting a couple of showers. Nothing crazy though. The bigger stuff, the heavier stuff, that's up north, right? And you can see it gets down to about southern suburbs of Brizzy. Some of that heavier stuff. But for Coolangatta, you're maxing out at just a shower or two and a few showers. Just sort of very windy, as you said, big swells, big waves. But, man, don't go in expecting a lot of rain, just a lot of shower activity. I do think your shower activity will increase, all right? Until the low gets off the coast, from about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, I do think there's going to be a few more showers through Coolangatta, but... yeah, don't want you going in there thinking, well, I'm going to cop this. Old mate on the YouTube told me that I'm going to cop this. No, that's happening north of you. All right. The biggest thing you're going to cop are big wings and big swells. So I hope I've clarified that for you, Christina. Fee, recommend subscription, well worth it. Updates are daily during the season and very educational. It's puts a lot into his reports and it shows. Thanks, Fee. Thank you very much. BJ, I can't afford subscription just yet, but I will as soon as I can. Just south of Townsville, we rely on your weather report so we can prepare or settle. Oh, that's great. No worries, BJ. Hey, listen, we provide a lot of stuff out there for free, man. It's the subscription is for those that can afford it. And if you can't afford it, join into these ones, just like you've done there. You help us out heaps by joining in and making that comment. There's other ways to support us if you can't support us financially, mate. And we understand that. And we're thankful for every one of our members and every one of our followers, not just members. My in-laws are stuck in Pinnacle. Yeah, I think that's in Mackay, yeah? Pinnacle? In and around Mackay? Yeah, I think so. And there's still some further heavy shower activity expected in that area. Hit and miss sort of stuff. More so a little bit further north, though, up around the Whitsundays, I would suspect, rather than Pinnacle. Stephen, best $69.95 I've ever spent. Very important to get detailed weather forecasts for us farmers. Very much appreciative. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks very much, Steve. Sue, Bundy's dew point. Yep, we talked about that. All right, I think that's it. Darren, is this for tomorrow? Unsure about timeframes. I'm not sure what you're talking, which part you're talking about there, Darren. So the stuff we talked about for northwest Queensland was tonight. The stuff we talked about for central inland Queensland, Emerald area, was for tomorrow and Monday morning. The stuff we talked about for southeast Queensland and the Capricornia and the Wide Bay area, that stuff is specifically for Monday, but it starts from tomorrow. So that's the timelines. If we're talking about the very sharp, potentially violent little storms up around the Townsville area, that's for Monday. And if we're talking about the potential for some locally heavy rainfall tonight, that's for tonight. That made sense, didn't it? Up around the Whitsundays, Mackay. So I hope that's given you some context about what times we're talking about. Melzy, best weather info going. Thanks, Mels. 104 mils in Mount Ossa last night. Wow, that's not bad. Windy tonight in Balgall Beach. Yep, it sure would be. Northerlies, I would imagine. Sarah, what about Serena? Yeah, no, too far north of. So if we go to Serena, good question. We don't talk much about Serena. We don't get asked much about Serena. So if we go to this, you can see today, chance of some showers, of course, just like there are everywhere in the East Coast at the moment. You can see some heavy showers. See these little heavy showers that just come through? So because we're in a northerly, everyone's a chance on the East Coast of picking those up while they're in a northerly. So that's what Serena's basically got, right? The chance of showers coming in on that northerly. They look like they're going to peak this evening as we go into tomorrow. Let's try that again. They look like they're going to peak this evening. Just give me a sec. Live video, gotta love it. All right, now let's try take 3. They look like they're going to peak this evening, and then as we go into the overnight, still a few around though, isn't there? Through the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. time frame. So that's our time frame here, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, we sort of see that settle down, particularly up around the Whitsundays. We don't. They could see a lot of rain, but not so much for Serena. And then as we go into the afternoon, we'll see some showers, maybe some storms developing on the ranges. Let's have a look. Does Serena a chance of picking those up? Thunderstorm steering tells us, they're going to try and sort of hug the range. Yeah, they're not really coming off the range. They're trying to hug the range as they come down from the northwest. So, yeah, at this stage, a few showers and thunderstorms there tomorrow. And then we're probably seeing the last of it on Monday afternoon. Small chance of a storm there on Monday. And that'll be it for Serena for quite some time, I would imagine. Okay, so overall, no, you're too far north of the big stuff down south, and you're too far south of any of the bigger potential up around the Whitsundays. So I can't imagine Serena's going to be waking up to huge numbers anytime soon from this particular event, mate. Just tuned in. How will Gympie go? Yeah, Gympie. Marita wants to know how Gympie will go. The Gympie's going to be in the firing line, right? So Gympie's going to be right in the thick of things. So I think at this stage, we're probably looking at at least 100s and possibly getting into the 200 range for Gympie. And Gympie's also a chance at picking up some of that really heavy intensity of rainfall on Monday before the thing clears the coast. So, yeah, Gympie's right in the firing line here, man. So you need to be getting prepped here for pretty significant rainfall developing from basically tomorrow, but peaking potentially on Monday. Now, that peak is not guaranteed, all right, but the heavy rain, pretty much guaranteed. I can show you a bunch of different models. They're all going to show you getting a fair bit of rain there. So you can see in this one, you're getting about 150 to 250. In this one, what are you getting here? About 200 to 250. So we got good agreement there that Gympie's going to see a lot of rain, right? A lot of rain. Yeah, the trough, remember the trough that we talked about, it's moving south and then it's going to move north. That means it's got to move through Gympie towards the south and it's got to move through Gympie towards the north. So there'll be periods of heavy rain as the trough moves south and north of you. Yeah. There's a lot of rain coming for you. So, yeah, make sure that you're ready for that, Marita. Listen, it's not crazy rain. It's not, it's not stuff you've never had before. It's not a cataclysmic event, some of the southern media that wants to make it out to be. It's just good rain, and it's very heavy rain. Lisa, hi, Nito. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Kirsty. Hi, Christy, sorry. Hi, Christy Harrison. Hello. Smart Emus, near Gladstone. Is that for Tannum Sands? Ah, that's where Tannum Sands is, near Gladstone. So I was right when I first thought about it near Bundy. But I was just a little bit off. Yeah, so Turkey Beach, where are we? Gladstone. Where are we? Tannum Sands. No, you got me in a wild goose chase here, have you? Turkey Beach, Boyne Island. I know where Boyne Island is. Gladstone. Nah, man. Are you sure? Tannum Sands is up here. Anyway, I can't find it. Listen, if you're anywhere near Gladstone, if you're north of Gladstone, you probably won't get the worst of this. If you're south of Gladstone, you do need to be on the lookout because on the northern edge of the error margin, we could see some opportunities for the northern edge error pushing up to you. So this blue stuff that's down here, that 200 plus millimeter stuff, that may push up to you if we're slightly wrong about where the system gets off the coast. But for now, if you're anywhere near Gladstone, you're not seeing the worst of this. Tannum Sands. I've got to find out where that bloody thing is. Okay. All right. In a nutshell, is there a low pressure trough from Low Drape down to Rainbow Beach? Bear, yes. From the Low Drape down to Rainbow Beach. Something like that, yeah. Hi, Nitso, Gladstone, hometown. Currently sitting in a motel in Brisbane waiting to fly out in the morning. Will I need an umbrella? Will I need an umbrella? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Both in Brisbane and in Gladstone. So take an umbrella with you, whichever way you're going. Whether you're going to Brisbane or whether you're going to Gladstone, you'll need an umbrella. So an umbrella is a fairly safe thing to pack, I think. Or at least a poncho. Maybe a poncho is easier to pack. Hi, Netso. Hey, guys. Late to the stream here. Looking forward to some tank filling out here in the gem fields. Ooh, sassy. Sassy gem fields. You do have a chance, but... All right, let's have a look at the gem fields. Long reach. We'll use long reach. Oh, I don't know. Do we use long reach or do we use emerald? Gem fields are sort of stuck in between. We'll use long reach. Yeah, look, there's a pretty good chance. Listen, it might be a bit patchier here than it's going to be. Once we get into the Central Highlands, we're a lot keener for that area. But in the eastern central west... It gets to a stage where some spots are going to get really heavy falls and then some spots are going to get 50, 75 mils. So I'm not sure if that 50, 75 mils is going to fill a tank, but if you're one of these lucky spots that get 100 pluses, that'll fill a tank. But yeah, there'll be sort of I know the model here tells you everyone's getting that rain, but it will be a little patchier than what's being reflected here, just due to the smoothing effect. We just see everyone gets the rain. But we will see some patchier stuff, but there will be some falls here that I wouldn't be surprised if they nudge 200. Okay, it's just a matter of, it happens a bit earlier for you than it does for the rest of the state. So for you, your peak time in the gem fields, I'll just zoom us out to 512 so you can see. Your peak time for rainfall in the gem fields is basically now into the back half of Sunday, I suspect. So 4 p.m, 10 p.m, that period there, see the back half of Sunday? That's when we talk about that last little violent bit of rain that we're going to expect on the coast. On the gem fields, that last bit of violent rain is happening Sunday evening, Sunday night, maybe even into very, very early hours of Monday. And then it quickly shifts away. So that's the part. If you're going to get if you're going to get tank filling rain, bank on that Sunday, back end of Sunday. But listen, there's going to be some early stuff now, right? You're getting some good stuff. If we go to the radar here now, we can see that there's some pretty good stuff coming into the gem fields already. So expect more of that, and then we get that one last violent burst. As this low quickly starts to move southeast, you'll get that one last violent burst of rain coming through. That might be the thing that fills your tank. Will Ipswich get similar rainfall to what we can see in Brisbane? I don't see why not. This isn't, unlike a lot of the rain that can sometimes happen, this isn't really a coastal thing. So if we go to, I'll just use Marburg. I think that's relatively close to Ipswich. Yeah, so if we look, obviously the coast has got the advantage because they're closer to the moisture source, right? I don't know what's going on there. What's going on there, Nitso? Districts. All right, we'll get rid of that. Yeah, so the coast is in a slightly better spot there because of the proximity to a moisture source. But overall, this isn't one of those things that is purely coastal. So I suspect that, yeah, Ipswich is in just as good a boat as Brisbane, maybe slightly lower rainfall than Brisbane. The biggest thing that is in Ipswich disadvantage is that they're a little bit south of Brisbane. So if you notice Brisbane City's there, Ipswich is a little bit south. And there is going to be a rain gradient to the south of Brisbane. So we do expect to see some heavy showers pushing through Ipswich at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow, and then potentially further heavy showers into the late afternoon, evening, and then they'll shift back to the north and we go back to just a shower or two. Now, where Brisbane might shine over Ipswich is they might get a little bit more of that shower activity on the backside. So as the heavier rain shifts northwards, the showers will become quite coastal, and so that's where Brisbane may get a little bit more rain than Ipswich in that period there. Okay, but yeah, primarily I can't see Ipswich completely missing out, but I also, by the way, don't see Ipswich getting the big stuff. All right, the big stuff's going to be north of them, just like it's going to be north of Brizzy. Gillian, got fingers crossed for the Maryborough Dome to work. Yeah, Gillian, that dome's going to have to be bloody strong in Maryborough. Mate, there's some... Yeah, I'd be very surprised if Maryborough doesn't get some fairly significant rain, unfortunately, if that's not what you're looking for. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But, yeah, mate, I don't see any way that Maryborough misses this. The only thing you can hope for is that Maryborough doesn't get this part, this really sort of back-end intensity part. That part, sure, Maryborough might miss, all right? So that's the part, that Monday afternoon or Monday lunchtime onwards through to about late afternoon, that part there where we're going to see the potential for really heavy stuff, yeah, that's the part there that you might miss, all right? Fingers crossed. If you miss that, you're still going to get rain, but you're just not going to get that really heavy rain. But at the moment, mate, I don't think there's a dome in the world that's going to stop you from getting big rain in Maryborough, all right? But it's just that last little bit. We know that that's going to be a little bit more impactful, but we also know that it's going to be a little bit, a much more isolated area, okay? So, Sarah, I've just explained there for Maryborough. You're right in the thick of things here, so there's no way you're going to miss out on the heavy rain. We just don't want that last little burst coming straight over the top of Maryborough, right? So that last little burst is going to be a little bit more isolated. but you're going to get fairly heavy rain in the lead up to that. All right. Is Dysart going to get anything in the next 2 days? Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. Oh, it's not going to get the... Sorry, I'm thinking Springshaw. Dysart isn't going to get the heavy stuff. If we go to Emerald, that'll give us Dysart. So not the heavy stuff, but are you going to get some rain out of this? Yeah, I would imagine. And I would imagine that we're going to see some showers streaming down from the north. Yep, we're doing that right now. Showers streaming down from the north, turning into light rain areas. And then as we go in through tomorrow, more of the same. So showers, bit of light rain areas, not the heavy stuff. And then the really heavy stuff is going to be to your west, out west of Claremont into the gem fields, coming through Emerald. And you'll see that you're always on the northern side of that in Dysart. So you'll notice there that you're never in the thick of things. You're still getting some rain, but you're not going to get the flooding type rain, right? And the difference there is quite significant. You know, you might get yourself 30 to 50 mils, maybe even a little bit more than that if you're lucky. And these folks down here are going to get themselves closer to 200. All right, that's the difference. By not being in that channel of where that low is going to go, you miss out on the heavy stuff. But you don't miss out on rain altogether. All right. Yeah. Sorry to give you some bad news there, Gillian. All right. I think that's all the questions that I can see that I've answered. Anyway, if I have missed you, I do apologise. I've just got to make sure that I don't miss anyone who's actually paid money to get a question asked. Sometimes you can ask like a super chat or a super question or something on YouTube. I'm just going to make sure no one's actually paid, because I did that one night. I got ahead of myself. I didn't know how to use the YouTube thing, and I found out someone paid like $5 for and asked me a question, and I didn't get to it, and I thought, oh, I felt so terrible and you can't refund them on YouTube, so I felt so terrible. So I just got to make sure no one does that, and I haven't done that to anyone. All right, no, beautiful. All right, thanks very much for watching tonight, folks. weatheriq.com.au, subscribe if you can support us. We'd be very appreciative. If you can't, give us a like, give us a comment, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. We don't care. Just interact and we'll get the algorithm moving, and that can help support us just on its own. Thanks very much. Keep an eye on all of our free updates throughout the next few days. We'll have another chat after all this mess is gone. We're having another chat on Tuesday night now. And Tuesday night, we're going to be discussing more rain in the NT. We're going to be discussing that heavy rain between Cairns and Townsville, and we're going to be discussing the next Coral Sea low coming across from the Solomons. We should have a better idea at what that's going to do Tuesday night. Thanks for watching.